Go.
Hello, KUAW listeners and the Kansas City audience on this very cold Valentine's Day. This is Professor Smooth Jazz, and we have a special guest that we're interviewing, Gabe Katona, multi-instrumentalist, saxophonist, and keyboardist specializing in both studio and live performances. Also, music for TV and film, vocal recordings, engineering, mixing, composing, and production. Hello, Mr. Gabe Katona. Say hello to the KUAW and Kansas City listening audience. You hear me, Mr.
Well,
Gabe?
first of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to be on your show today. I'm really excited to be here and with you and your audience also.
It looks like your mic's off.
My mic is off?
No, well, I hear you now. Yeah,
No?
but it's got a, there you go.
Okay. Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you and your audience for allowing me to be on your show today. I'm very excited to be here with you today. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Going to the world of Zoom is quite an experience these days.
Yeah, check your mic.
Okay.
His mic is fine, Rick.
Okay.
I'm hearing him.
Okay.
Did you not hear him?
No.
Oh, you got your volume up? Because yeah, I was hearing him just fine both times.
I got my volume.
Okay, I don't know what's. Let's try it again. Go ahead. Now you got your mic off, Gabe. I can see that, but you got to turn it back on. No, no, no. You're talking to nobody. Your mic's off now. I see the indication that it's off. So go ahead and hit the key to turn the mic back on.
Yeah, you're
Okay, you're on now. So
all right. It shut itself off for some reason.
yeah, I'm not sure about Rick's, but yeah, I can see when your
I can hear
mic's
you now.
okay.
Can you hear me now, Rick?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you so much for allowing me to be on your show and your audience too. I'm very excited to be here. So that's the first thing I want to say to everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So go ahead and tell us about your new single, Portrait in Blue. And I spun that on one of my shows. Uh, One of the audience guy called and wanted to know. He said to him it appeared to have a blues kind of blues jazz sound to it, and
Exactly.
he noticed it and was asking me would I give him the name and the artist uh, for the selection.
Well, it is actually he was right on. When I wrote this song as a blues, but it's a jazz blues piece. And one of the things about blues is a lot of people think blues is supposed to be something that's depressing or sad, but it's not. Blues is about hope. And that's my feeling towards this song. It is a blues song, but it's about hope. It's about getting out of the darkness into the light. So that's why I wrote Portrait in Blue.
And so tell us, I see your keyboards in the background there. Love keyboards, I
Oh
tell
yeah,
you. But you also play sax, right? Now you play sax on this.
I
So,
yeah I played sax on this one. I played sax and piano on this,
mm-hmm.
and the lead is a kind of a duet between the piano and the saxophone. So it's like a conversation between the
Mm-hmm.
piano and the sax.
So you're in the Nashville area, Tennessee, which is
Yes, sir.
also under a winter advisory. You might
Gosh,
have
yeah.
more snow. You might have more snow than we do, but we just got 4 below.
4 below.
Yes.
Oh no,
I don't know what it
that's
was
just
last night, but it's 4 below, and it's supposed to be -5 or 6 some tonight or something like that. Maybe a little colder.
Oh, that's just wrong. That's just wrong. You know, we shouldn't have anything below 70 degrees as far as I'm concerned. I'm a tropical fish. When I see snow and ice, I don't know what to do. And it's 13, the wind chill is 13 degrees right now. We're having an ice storm as we speak. And you can hear it pounding on the windows here right now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So you also,
and
we talked about, you did some Motown writing.
yes,
And
I
things
was,
like
I
that?
was, I was, as a young man, I was a songwriter, and I was signed to Motown. Actually, it was called Joe Bet. Joe Bet is actually the publishing division of Motown. I was also a Motown musician. I played on Dancing Machine. I played on a lot of things that the Jacksons and the Temptations did back in the day.
Oh, okay.
As a
Yes, well,
keyboard
we definitely know who the Temptations are at KUAW, I'm gonna tell you. And so,
I hope so.
yeah, you also did something with Rick Springfield, and you were a member
Yes,
of.
I actually did tour. I toured with him, and I also played on his records. I played on 4 of his albums. I played on Jesse's Girl, Don't Talk to Strangers. Some of his biggest hits, I played keyboards on those
And
records.
so you had mentioned somewhere, is that where you ventured into Kansas City when you were touring with?
Actually, I've been to Kansas City several times. I've been there when I was playing with Rare Earth, and I was my introduction to Gates when I was with Rare Earth, and that's how I got into the habit of. It was around the time when the Chiefs were playing. It was in football season, so we went to Gates, got some ribs, and we all went over to watch the Chiefs play. And to me, that's one of my. I love to do that. Whenever I get a chance to do that, when I'm in Kansas City, I try to do that when it's football season.
So you said you a Chiefs fan?
I'll tell you another funny. Yeah, I am, and I was way before they won the world championship too. I mean, way before then. And I remember some people would laugh at me because I was a Chiefs fan, and I would say, someday those guys are going to go all the way. You just wait and see. And they did. So.
So how'd you end up? How did you?
Good thing going on.
How'd you end up being a Chiefs fan? How did
I
you end
went
up
to a
being a
game.
Chiefs? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. So when was that? Was that before they? Was that before they won the Super Bowl before? Because I think we won in '68
way
or
before.
60.
Oh yeah, it was after
Somewhere
68.
79 or something. It
75.
was like 68 or 60, somewhere like that. Okay.
Yeah, beginning of the 70s. I went in 1975 is the first time I saw Chiefs play live in person. And it was great. There's just something very special about that.
Okay. Well, so you already we're already gonna adopt you. Yes,
All right.
You since you're a Chiefs fan and a Gates fan, we got to adopt you.
Can I tell you one more Gates funny story?
Okay.
When I was playing with Starship, they didn't know anything about Gates, so I decided to take them. Said we got to go to Gates. We're in Kansas City. We were getting ready to do a show. We had a night off, and we went to Gates, and so I introduced them to the world of Gates. Kansas City barbecue. They didn't know what that was.
Oh, okay.
Well, apparently they really liked it so much that the next day when I got on the tour bus, and I always ate breakfast on the tour bus because I can't just get out of bed and eat breakfast. I got to wake up first. So I'm on the tour bus trying to get my breakfast, and I couldn't find my food because the refrigerator in the whole little section where the food was full of ribs. Apparently they bought a whole bunch of extra ribs for the next day. So I had ribs for breakfast the next day. I didn't mind that.
So that's funny. I'm gonna have to tell some of the Gates family that story. They'll love to hear that.
They've been around. How long have they been? I mean, they've been in business for a long, long time, haven't they?
I know it was I remember when I graduated in '72, and it was called OGs. And I didn't realize that was
Oh, gee.
Gates. OGs, yeah, yeah. But the Ollie
Wow.
Gates, Ollie Gates. See, but
Wow.
it was on 31st in Indiana or something, and I used to go there.
Yeah.
And I always wondered, so what happened to that barbecue place? But I realized that that was the Gates. So I'm saying
Yeah.
I just remember '72. Uh, I had I was college around that time, and some of my friends, his buddies would come from St. Louis, and we would take them to Gates.
Oh man. Yeah, that was that. I like it. I really do like Kansas City barbecue. To me, that's my favorite barbecue of
Mhm.
anything else. So
Uh, so so yes, and so you also speak at least what, three languages?
I
English
speak
and
Spanish, I speak Spanish and I speak Hungarian and I speak
mhm.
English too. So I
Oh,
speak
okay.
three languages,
Wow.
which comes in
Okay.
handy in the strangest times. So
Hmm. Okay. Now you said when you mentioned rare earth, hold on, I wrote it down here. My favorite was I Just Want to Celebrate and Born to
yep,
Wander. Yeah.
that's
Get
right. Big
ready
Brother.
and
Yep.
feeling all right. Hey, big brother, and I'm losing you. That's the ones I remember.
I'll tell you one thing: we could not do a show without playing "Get Ready." Now, the "Get Ready" was originally a Temptations,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then Rare Earth did their version of it as well.
Hmm.
And we couldn't get off the stage unless we did "Get Ready." Get
Hmm.
Ready. That was like, you
Hmm.
had to do it. That's the audience was expecting that no matter what.
Hmm.
So that was for one song that everybody was waiting for.
Okay. So how did you end up with meeting Adam?
Well, I have a good friend of mine who's also a really good musician and
Hmm.
jazz artist. His name is Mike
Hmm.
Rosen. He lives in New York now, but we've known each other for years.
Hmm.
Anyways, I was finishing up my bridge album and I was looking for a radio promoter, and he's the one who
Hmm.
introduced us.
Oh, okay.
And Adam's a really good guy.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Fun to work with. Yeah. So when did you get into jazz music? Because I know you did. Well, you do all different types of music. So.
Well, that goes back to LA days when I was still a kid, basically a teenager, and
Hmm.
I was experimenting with a lot of different music, and I started listening to jazz because there was a radio station in Los Angeles called KBCA. KBCA was a jazz station, and they had a show called The Lions.
Hmm.
And I remember DJ saying, listening to you're listening to The Lions Den, and we're going to play a little Cal Jader for you, or a
Hmm.
little Yusef Lateef, or a little
Hmm.
Miles Davis, or John Coltrane, and the Crusaders. And those were the first people I started listening to. And then I started getting deeper and deeper into jazz. And there were these jazz clubs in Los Angeles. And I used to sneak in because I was underage and I had a fake ID. So I would just kind of sneak in. I didn't look that age, but they kind of said, okay, kid, if you get busted, it's on you, not on us. But I saw Thelonious Monk live. That was amazing. I saw Roland Kirk live, uh, Gary Burton, um, Herbie Hancock back then when Bot. This was before he even recorded "Speak Like a Child," which was the first
Hmm.
album that I really started listening to his playing. I saw him live, but I didn't know about him, about his recordings until "Speak Like a Child," which was a Gil Evans arrangement. Gil Evans arrangements. That was back in '68. And so I started getting more and more into jazz and listening. The best place to listen to jazz is live, as far as I'm concerned, because jazz is interactive. It's conversation. It's like us talking, except with
Hmm.
music.
Hmm.
So that's how I got into it originally.
So when you say underage, what age was that?
I was 15.
15?
I
Oh,
was
okay.
16 years old. When where I grew up, there was all these different bands playing. when we were kids. And I lived in an area where people didn't know much about rhythm and blues. This is back in the 60s, and things are much different, society-wise, and the way things were back in the 60s as they are now. And the music that I was gravitating towards was more R&B, Joe Tex, James Brown, Wilson Pickett, you know, um, Booker T and the MGs. That's the kind of music I was really identifying with. And the only places you can hear that music, you had to go into East LA to hear that kind of music. Well, they wouldn't let you in unless you were 21 and over, because they served alcohol in these places. So I got a fake ID card, and to get into these places, to hear music live. And so and then I finally realized, I could get a band together and play R&B live where I am, which was in West LA, because people didn't know much about R&B back then in that part of Los Angeles. So we got a band together, and we started playing mostly R&B and rock and R&B. And we had so many gigs, we couldn't keep up with it all. Everybody loved the music because nobody knew what that was before. So radio was a lot different then. Everything was different back in the 60s. And so it was something that was welcome. And it was a great experience to turn people on to that who have never heard it before or didn't experience it. And it was shortly after that, then radio started playing more of a combination of things. Stations like KRLA, KFWB started playing everything from Johnny Cash all the way to Wilson Pickett. So it was like a real combination of things. But that was really unusual. And LA had those radio stations were the first ones to start playing like a mixture of different styles of music and different fields of music, which people started being exposed to. And then they started realizing, hey, people dig this music. So anyway, that was my story back then.
So how many CDs, total CDs do you have? And I know what is two of them jazz or something like that? You have two, was it two?
I have three jazz actually I have four. Okay, I have Reflections Reflexiones, which is kind of Latin jazz world music album. Then I have one called Rumors Have It, which have a lot of vocals. I have a lot of people that I brought in, co-wrote with, and we did. It's a combination of instrumentals and also with vocals. Then I did Bridge, which was my last album. And then I have a new album coming out called Night Flight. And Portrait in Blue is the actual single from Night Flight. And Night Flight is going to be released in a couple of months, a few months.
Okay.
This is the single off the record.
Oh, okay. You mentioned Miles Davis. Chick Corea just passed away about last Wednesday, or was it last Wednesday or Tuesday or something like that? Keyboardist Chick Corea just passed away.
A few days ago.
Yeah.
And it's too bad. He was doing some interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
He was giving these classes.
Mm-hmm.
He was teaching the next generation, the new, because of COVID, we're all kind of sequestered and we can't get out like we used to. So Chick had these classes online that you could take, and he could show you what he was doing, all that stuff. And unfortunately, he did pass a few days ago.
Yeah. And when you mentioned Herbie Hancock, I graduated around 72, so I remembered Herbie Hancock.
We still have some really good players around today. And
because of the Headhunter CD is the ones I kind of remembered, and the Headhunter CD that he came out with. So a lot of young people were attracted to even though it was jazz, it was a different type of jazz. And I remember I was in a car club that we had race cars. I had a 67 GTX, man, and someone would play Headhunters on there on the system, man. And
I'll get you going.
And I loved it because he had all those keyboards. I mean, man. I had one album and he had his at least 10 to 12 keyboards and pianos all laid out. And the
Yeah, man.
synthesizers, I think Stevie Wonder kind of started when he had all the synthesizers. It was Herbie Hancock and a couple of others
Yep.
that started using keyboards.
Do
And then
you know who else?
Stanley Clark came in with the lead bass.
Yeah. One person that was a big influence on for me that I always say he keeps me humble is one guy who was around for a long time is Oscar Peterson.
Yes.
And Oscar Peterson was an innovator up to his last days. He had synthesizers and he kept up. He was really on top of things even to his last days.
So when did you start playing music?
Oh man. Well, actually, I started when I was like about 4 years old, and there was this school that my parents enrolled me in. It was a music school. I mean, they taught regular school, but they had a pretty good music department, and they had this violin class, and I was about like preschool or kindergarten, something like that. And I started sneaking into the class because it was for older kids, and I started playing the violin. And pretty soon I was ahead of the class, and the teacher pulled me out, and he actually took me home and told my parents, he's too young. You have to wait till he's a little bit older before he can start lessons and all that stuff. So my parents didn't want me to, said, you're gonna have to wait playing music. So I got a hold of a harmonica, and I used to sneak downstairs where they couldn't hear me play the harmonica when I was a kid. I started formal lessons around when I was 10. That was my birthday present. When I was 10 years old, my parents got me piano lessons. So I started playing classical piano and learning, the lessons and all that stuff. But I always liked different styles of music. I had a friend who played drums, and I used to go and listen to his band play and stuff. And I started getting into listening to what he was doing. I was digging on that. So I started kind of around 10 years old when I started really getting into it.
So when the keyboards, was the keyboards first or the sax?
Are we there?
Yeah. Hello? Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. I was having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah. So what started first for you, the sax or the keyboards?
I started on keyboards playing. I started playing keyboards, piano on keyboards. But when I finally got into like junior high and high school, I took up the sax and I started playing sax because that was portable. And I didn't have enough money to buy a keyboard back then. It was, it cost too much money. So I ended up playing sax in bands before I got my first keyboard.
So what kind of what time frame was this? Because I was wondering what type of keyboards they had back then. Because I just remember
my first keyboard. There was a store called Wallach's Music City. It was a record store that sold musical instruments, mostly used instruments. And I would always check out what they had. And they had this old Wurlitzer electric piano that's been through the mill. It had cigarette burns on the keys, and it was pretty funky. And I think I paid about $100 for this thing, and that's all I could afford. And I remember that was my very first electric keyboard that I could, travel with, because you can't travel with a piano. That was the first keyboard.
Kind of like in that movie, The Blues Brothers, where they went in Ray Charles, his music store, and they saw that keyboard.
Yeah. See, a lot based on real stuff that really happened to us back in the day.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you say you got this new selection, and sound like it's doing pretty good to me from my listeners.
I'm losing you again.
I said, so your new selection, Portrait in Blue, I said, sounds like it's going to do pretty good because some of my listeners were calling about it. So, and you say you have your new CD release is going to be when again?
In a couple of months, we're going to have
couple
a release of the whole album. It's 11
Okay.
songs, and it's called Night Flight.
Okay.
And it's it's a jazz album, a contemporary
Mhm.
jazz album, smooth
Okay.
jazz, contemporary jazz,
Mhm.
and that's going to be out in 2 months.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's
Gabe,
going to be
would
called Night
like
Flight.
to thank you for spending time on this cold Valentine's Day, and you have a nice Valentine's Day. Now, you wear that red because of the Chiefs or something like that? Is that what it is? You got
Yes,
your red
sir.
on because of the Chiefs?
Undoubtedly.
We're gonna have to
Ab-
find the Chiefs hat for you if you don't have one.
I don't. I'd be honored to have
You
one.
don't
That'd
have a
be
Chiefs
great.
hat? I'm gonna have to write that
I
down. When I'm gonna have to write that down and see if I
don't. I
can't.
used to. What? Okay. What happened is and it got wore out. I wore it
Oh,
so
okay.
much that I wore it out. So,
Oh, okay.
so I don't have one now.
So how long have you lived in Tennessee?
I've been in Tennessee now for 26 years, and I can't
Oh,
believe
okay.
it.
You can't believe it. But
No,
for the most part, it's warm, isn't it? Isn't it? I say for the
it's
most part, it's
nice here most of the time. We don't have the real heavy winters that you get north, but we still get a little bit of snow, but nothing like this.
yeah,
This is unusual.
yeah, I know.
So I'm staying and I'm not going out. I'm not even
Yeah,
gonna go out.
yeah. I don't blame you. All right. Well, thank you again for spending time with the KUAW and Kansas City listeners. Do you have a site where
Well,
people
thank
can?
you and appreciate you having.
Mhm. Yeah. So, do you have a site that you go to where people can check up on the news and any new releases coming out or any? I know we got COVID coming up, and
Yeah.
people haven't
There's
been
a
able to
couple
do
places you can
venues.
go to. You can go to my Oh, I know. It's been tough because of COVID. You can
Yeah.
find out about what's going on with me and my music on GabeKatonamusic.com. That's my website. You can also go to Facebook and you can find me on Facebook on Gabe Katona Music on Facebook as well.
Okay. Well, you have a nice Valentine's Day and you stay warm. And I'm gonna write that down to make a note about a Chiefs hat for Gabe
Okay,
because
I
he's such a
appreciate
big
that.
because he's such a big uh, Kansas City fan.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
Besides,
thank you.
I want
Okay.
to give those guys, with, who like, Tom, that guy Tom,
Oh,
Tom
okay.
B, Tommy B,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
a little run for their money, so
Okay.
you
Well,
know what
thanks.
I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The goat, they call him. Huh? They
The
call him
goat,
the new
yeah, that's
the
right.
new goat. Yeah. All righty. Well, thank you, and you have a nice day and stay warm. I'm praying for you. And be forward to look into those new selections in that new CD.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon.